Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Self-Improvement. How many 10-year-olds could you take on if they unleashed one every 30 seconds? You should be prepared. They're out there working harder than you. Now let's dim the lights and start the show.
Why was that voiceover perfect? Because it was so like nonchalant. They're out there working. So great.
Welcome everybody. I had a lot of fun writing that one.
Yeah, it was good.
Welcome everyone to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by HDP, the best protein yoinked from the most ethical sources. Get your HDP today.
Oh my god, I'm laughing weirdly because I have a cough and I'm trying not to cough in everybody's ear. So
it's most appreciated.
God, that's good. Good stuff.
Welcome everyone to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers. We like to make things. And you know what? Making things is really important. And Todd, ultimately, it saves lives. Fact. What lives were saved today? What are we covering?
At least, half a dozen, probably. We're covering Argo. What year did this come out?
2012.
This is 2012?
Yeah.
2012. So if you haven't seen this film, please pause it and go watch, pause this episode and go watch it because we're going to spoil all the things.
Yeah, we'll do our best. We'll touch on some of the cinematography, talk about the camera work, and we'll dive into the story and writing. We'll cover a little thing I heard called the mini movie method and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. Acting under the cover of a Hollywood producer scouting a location for a science fiction film, a CIA agent launches a dangerous operation to rescue 6 Americans in Tehran during the U.S. hostage crisis in Iran in 1979. It's directed by Ben Affleck, screenplay by Terrio, cinematography by Rodrigo Prieto. It's featuring Ben Affleck as Tony Mendez, Bryan Cranston as Jack, Alan Arkin as Lester, John Goodman as John Chambers, and Scoot McNairy as Joe Stafford.
Dude, okay. Ben Affleck picking up the director's chair and delivering an Academy Award-winning movie. Oh, damn. Yeah, how'd it go?
Yeah,
how does Argo still stand up today? 13 years on.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. I adore this movie. And I haven't watched this film in a long time, probably 7 years or so, at least. But gosh, man, like there are. It's just that I feel like the beats are perfect, the timing is perfect, the editing is so strong in this movie. It's so easy to watch a film like this and not really realize how good everything is around it because it's all equally good in my mind. You know, like some movies you can say, man, the cinematography was amazing. And that's maybe because something else wasn't as strong as the cinematography, right? Or maybe like, gosh, the acting was so good. That's maybe because maybe the cinematography was incredible, but it could have been a little bit better, or it wasn't as good as the acting was, or whatever. In this case, I can't find a flaw. I just, the acting is perfect every moment. There are funny beats. There are heartfelt beats. There are emotional moments. There are stressful moments, and they're stressful because of the editing. It's just anybody who wants to be an editor, just study this movie. It's perfect. It is perfect example of like how to create stress and tension. Hell, anybody who wants to be a director should study this film. There's no explosions anywhere, and you don't even notice it. It's just perfect. Because there's fire and stuff, but you don't really nothing happens except for the beginning. Not really much happens, right? As in violence.
Yeah.
When so
in a hostage situation, you kind of assume there's going to be someone, or you're going to see more murder and like chaos than we probably get delivered in this experience.
Yeah, and a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I mean like the stress of editing was, do you remember the moment where they put the bags over the hostages' heads and they lead them down into this basement and they're about to execute them. They're about to shoot them. And they pull the trigger and it just clicks. And you see that one guy fall to his knees, like crying in the bag still. Before they pulled the trigger, normally, like if you watch a movie, stuff like that happens. You're like, okay, I guess they're going to die now. This is part of the scene, part of the movie. But in this case, I felt the stress, not of what they were feeling probably, but obviously, but like of watching what I did not want to happen. I was connected to these people I didn't even know. I barely even saw. And I really think it was because of the editing, because I didn't really see them that much, but I saw enough of them and we were cutting away and back to them to think maybe they could be saved or maybe something's going to happen. And it just never does, but they just don't shoot them. And I just had this moment of, oh gosh, like just, stress and then release. And that's throughout this whole movie, I feel like, even when they're trying to make the film,
Oh yeah.
It's not as stressful, obviously. It's a different kind of stress, but maybe because we love film, right? And the business and stuff, and we're watching it and it's just so strong. The casting is flawless in this movie. It's so good. Alan Arkin is the movie for me. Like the guy, he makes it. He makes them, because you're so stressed out, about getting them out and about if they're going to get caught, that just having him every time he's on screen, you feel like you're entertained, right? So there's this bit of entertainment, there's this bit of stress, there's this bit of behind the scenes, like if all of these bits, but when you see him on camera, you're just like, he's hilarious. He's perfect. And then when he goes in to sell the script with, what's his name?
Is that Richard Kind? Whenever he's
yes.
Yeah.
Where he's like trying to sell it for $10K and he's like, that whole story is perfect. Do you really know Warren Beatty? Yeah. I took a leak next to him at the Globes one year in 1965 or something. It was perfect. It was so good. Anyway, I think this movie is fantastic. Acting, cinematography, directing, the story and the script. The fact that it's a true story is just like incredible. I'm sure there were some embellishments, and I don't know what they are, but they did get out, and they did get out in this way. So like, I don't really care. It's just fantastic. I loved it. Do you agree or do you disagree?
100% agree. And as we've seen over the last couple of years, revisiting a movie isn't always as kind as the memory. But this absolutely
true.
I watched it last night or a couple days ago, and I was just riveted the entire time. And then I didn't get through my second rewatch, unfortunately, but even during that rewatch though, I was still like leaning forward and stressed of like, it's the editing, like you said, it's the performance. Even that shot that you're talking about, which is so vivid in my mind, of the mock execution and the guy falling down. Like, yeah, there is so much tension. And choosing to intercut that with the table read of like, here's one type of fiction and one type of story, and here's another type of fiction and another type of story with two radically different implications. And yet the exact same implication, right? Because this fake story over in Hollywood is trying to prevent someone else from being on the line and getting killed. And so there's a really interesting dynamic conversation happening between those two sequences. And then camera work wise, I really love the camera operator's work right there, because there's a thing that happens and when you're making a movie, especially something like this, where you're trying to make sure the audience isn't aware of the film that's being made. And there's certain things I really hate that some camera operators do, which is to give away that there's a camera operator at all. And so the way I like to shoot is to make sure the camera is motivated by what's happening on screen, not as much cueing what's happening on screen. There are moments for that, and they should be very few and far between. And by that, I'm talking about like a push in on a character who's having a realization. That's a great moment to do an unmotivated move because there's an emotional motivation that the audience is now leaning in. They're waiting for this realization to happen. And that's kind of the secret motivation. Whereas in that shot of the guy falling down to his knees, the cam op moves with him. We pan down or we tilt down with him. And there's something that happens in that shot that I think a lot of cam ops would have screwed up, or at least would have done, which is we can no longer see that guy's head. His head kind of gets obfuscated by the foreground, the soldier standing in front of us. And I think a lot of camera operators would have just stepped a little move to the right so we can get a cleaner look at this guy's head. Because that's what we're really trying to see. That's the action, is this guy's face, even if it's obscured with the mask. And there's just this tendency to want to do that, to see people's faces. And I just love that he didn't do that, or she. I don't know who camera operated this. We just tilt down, we stay with it, and if he falls out of the frame, that's fine. Because to move to get a better look is to reveal that there is a camera operator there. Because that perspective isn't of a person. There's no person who's trying to angle for a better view. And so I really love that the cam op really just lets the person fall out of frame. And that's, to me, great camera operating and great, probably great direction either by Affleck or Prieto himself. Because that's a thing that you want to communicate with your team. Like, hey, we move when we're motivated to move. You do not move. And I saw a clip recently of the recently deceased Rob Reiner, where he was talking about Princess Bride. And he was like, there's a lens flare. And I just hate this lens flare because it reminds the audience that there's a camera. And I don't want people to know that there is a camera at all. Like, we're supposed to just be there. And I was like, that's such a brilliant way to think about how you're capturing, your story. And so I was reflecting on that comment as I was watching this movie, and I was like, that's so great. Because like in that shot, I was just watching that shot too, because this is so visceral. So you can see exactly what I'm talking about there.
I see exactly what you're talking about. And so what I'm looking at is his hands tied. And then the very next cut is from another angle of his hands tied. So it really like solidifies what we were looking at in the first place, right? And reminds us of that. But it's this whole scene is like this interstitching of the table read, the mock execution, and this woman reading, from the Torah, or like reading that message, and it's just so, and the other amazing thing is like when they bring them down to the basement, it says the date.
Yes, right.
It says January 23rd, 1980. It was 3 weeks old by the time. At the time, by the way.
Holy crap!
January 23rd, 1980.
Mazel tov.
So you're expecting something to happen.
Yeah.
Because you see a date.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I was like, why is this? Why was it a surprise to me that they didn't get killed? And a lot of it was because of that date, I think. Why would they put a date if nothing happens? I don't know. Like, it's just so cool.
That's
cool.
a genius little moment to think about, though, because, you're adding significance to this moment. And so you're expecting something even more significant to happen, especially whenever you're lining people up for an execution. That's a great call out, man. And a brilliant little flourish from Affleck and team. There's so much about this movie that I love. One of the things that I always think about when I think about this movie is this writing technique. A long time ago, must have been in 2012 or 2013, when we were working at Demand, I sat in on a call. Like, they invited this guy in, Peter Gould, I think his name was, that was a writer or a producer, and he was giving advice on how to write a screenplay. So I was like, I want to hear about this, of course. And he says, I'm going to walk you through what I call the mini movie method. And he invokes Argo as his method of communicating this idea. And I was like, oh, okay. And this is where he basically just says very simply, all you're trying to do is tell one big story spliced up into all these little mini movies. If you think about every single section has its own arc, right? It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Then you can keep the audience riveted. You don't have any like second act slump where it just kind of gets boring or just treading water, because the second act is where so many writers have a really hard time. You know, the first act is really exciting because you're just getting going and your inciting incident is going to be really fun and cool. And then, of course, the ending is going to be a big bang, and that's going to be exciting. What happens in between? What are you doing in between? And so he was like, just go through and figure out what are the objectives that your characters need to achieve and give them obstacles to that. And so it was interesting, and I'll be honest, I didn't do a great job of like cutting this up the way I really wanted to, and I'll probably do privately. But just kind of eyeballing it, I could see what he meant. And one of the things that I thought this movie just was brilliant about was the opening. That opening, whatever it is, 5 minutes of the backstory of Iran. This great animation that sets up the era. It's so smart, so efficient. And so informative, and doesn't pull you away from the story. It doesn't feel like canned or hokey. You get a sense of the gravity already just from her voiceover is so good there. And then the animations and the intercutting of the footage and photography, like it really sets the tone. And then the fact that she's talking about the 79 overthrow of the Shah, and that's where we end, and it fades up the year, going back to another, super text or superimposed text of the date 1979. You're like, that's now. Okay, what you were just talking about is what we're watching now. Crap, got it. And then we're in the embassy. There's so many little wrinkles in that little backstory. I love that they don't totally shy away from the American part of the coup, of installing the Shah or let alone the Shah's authoritarianism and why he wasn't favored. And it also has a brief little insight about sometimes you see people talking about how amazing, the 70s were in Iran because, we had, so much Western culture being embedded into, the Iran, which of course now looks like crazy, considering how conservative it is over there. But it's a lot to take in, and I thought they just did a great job of giving you the highlights, giving you the tone, and setting up everything that's going to happen. And then immediately going to how the fall of the embassy sets up our gang in hiding, right? We have our escapees trying to figure out. And so that's one and maybe even two sections in this opening, right? We backstory, bang, the embassy falling and our gang escaping, bang, bang. And then the next setup is, okay, great. Now we need a rescue plan. And so now we have our next little mini movie. We need to tell the story of needing a rescue plan and how we come to find what the rescue plan is. And I think this probably runs closer to 10 to 15 minutes, but on average, these little mini movies run best at like the 8 to 12 minute runtime. Like right around 10 minutes is ideal because that's going to give you so much happening, right? Setting up the problem, coming up against some obstacles, and then the resolution of that problem, right? That's all we're trying to do is tell these little stories. And okay, great. So now we need a rescue plan. But first, we're going to meet Tony. We're going to watch him get debriefed. We're going to hear their best plans. And we're going to watch Tony snipe them down, which establishes him as the expert of how to do this. Whatever it's going to be, he's going to be the guy. Great, which makes sense because we've been following him for the last, 3 minutes. Cool. And so we understand he has experience getting people out of Iran, right? Because he got, during the overthrow, he got some of the Shah's people out. And therefore, he knows the airport is the only exit. And he lays out all kinds of reasons why that is. Great. And in order to do that, we also know they need a cover identity in order to do that. For the escapees to get out through the airport, they need a really good cover. Cool. And then we intercut, see how scared everyone is back in Iran and in the Canadian ambassador's house. Great. They're literally hiding in the floors. So we're raising the tension and the stakes there, going back to your point about there's so much tension in this movie. It's because they never let you lose sight of what they're dealing with over there in the house. It would be easy to just spend time in Hollywood and everything's fun. And we can have fun, but also we're going to constantly undercut the fun with the tension of their reality. And then, of course, we reveal that he has a son, which does two things. It raises the stakes for him personally and also plants the idea of Argo, right? Because he's watching Planet of the Apes and he's like, oh, I know a guy. He's got clearance. Let's do that. So that results in the culmination of that little mini movie. We've established the need right at the beginning, and then we've come through the obstacles, right? We got all these ideas. Here's some rescue plans, and they all suck. Great. And then we have a resolution. Create a movie identity to get these guys out. But luckily, and this gets into a little bit of the but, therefore, and storytelling mechanisms that we've discussed before, the Trey Parker, Matt Stone, or Matt Stone, Trey Parker, whichever, Matt and Trey. But the resolution of that story creates the next problem. And he shoots it right off. We got to make the idea credible. Cool. This is our new obstacle. How are we going to do this? And of course, the overarching obstacle is being driven by getting these people home safe. And so now we need to make this movie idea credible. And so now he has to get John Chambers on board, John Goodman's character, the makeup artist. So he needs to get him on board. Great. That's obstacle number one. Can he buy into this? Does he have a way in? Great. And how do we do this? It's a fun, quirky conversation. This is kind of a fun and games moment of, you know what? The stakes are pretty low, but there is resistance. He does need to win them over. And he'll do that in a fun, quirky conversation. It's fun for us, the audience. We're so early in the movie. You know what? Give us a little reprieve. Cool. Then he's like, yeah, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. You need to get a producer on board. Cool. Let's go get Alan Arkin on board. And how are we going to do this? Another fun, quirky conversation. He's not going to put up a lot of resistance. A little. Enough to make you say, oh, can we get this guy? But we know Hollywood. They're all going to want to have a good story to tell, and then ultimately a story that they won't be able to tell. But it'll be for the grandkids or something. So he gets him on board. Great. But he raises another problem, right? It's this trickle-down effect of everyone gets on board, raises another pain-in-the-ass thing that needs to be dealt with. Because he's like, yeah, but if you're going to do it, then you got to do it right. We need a script. So we watch them burn through a bunch of scripts until he finds Argo. And, of course, they don't spend a lot of time selling him on this because the movie itself is called Argo. We know we're going to go with the script. So that takes all of 0.0 seconds for them to get on board with Argo. Great. But then we need to get the option for the script, which leads to another fun, quirky conversation. And then we're on to like, okay, well, now that we got that, we need to get government approval. Now we got to sell this lie to the press so that we can, make it palatable for everyone involved. Like, this will work because we already got the press on board. There's already like some momentum here. And so we do this public table read, we get some storyboards, and then we intercut the table read with that mock execution, right? This lie versus this lie, which one's going to ultimately become reality? Cool, let's find out. And then that goes to the next story, mini movie, right? We're going to get to Iran. We're going to get to the escapees, right? So we're going to leave the States. And I love this little moment because this could be a little moment that you just kind of burn through, where he just gets on a plane. He just goes and gets to Iran, and we start the real tension of, can you get into the country? No. They said, just leaving the country, we can do something with that. Because when we go to leave the States, we're going to raise the stakes. First, we're going to raise the physical stakes, right? Him and Bryan Cranston are in the car, and he's going to give him a reminder. If you get caught, you will be disowned by the CIA. We don't know you. So now the physical stakes are being raised for Tony. He needs to make sure this works because his life is at stake now. Got it. And then he gets into the airport, and Tony calls his son to say goodbye. The phone just rings. Because his son isn't home, he's just going to have to settle for mailing him a postcard. And now the emotional stakes are raised. Because now we really don't want Tony to die. because we like his son and we want him to be there for his kid. So now you've done two bang bang things, right? Like his life is at stake and we care that his life is at stake. Great. And then we're going to raise the stakes for the escapees, right? Joe Stafford tells a story of regret of going there in the first place. Man, this is good. This is such good writing at this point in the film because he's telling us how he regrets not listening to his wife. That's standing right there. And now not only is his life at stake, but he's put his wife's life at stake. And now we're just like, we feel his regret and not listening and protecting her. And no matter how you want to splice it, as a man, we feel responsible for our family. Like, and until we stop sending men to the front lines, by large statistics, that's just going to be the case. We're always going to feel responsible for our families. And watching him, we understand that. I think everyone in the audience, man and woman, understands that resentment of, I screwed this up. Why'd I do that to myself? Why'd I do that to her? And so now he becomes our X factor because as the plan starts to move into place, we understand why he's resisting. It's because he doesn't want to make the same mistake twice. He doesn't want to put his wife back into harm's way. And we know why. Personally, I'm both frustrated by it, but that thing in me understands why he's doing it. I'm never mad at him. I'm just hoping that it works out. Right? I don't know. How did you react to him dealing with his own personal trials along with getting everyone out and being a part of the team? Like, how did you process that?
I just saw it as like additional weight. You know, like I feel like there's weight everywhere without being reminded of it. You know, I'm not constantly reminded that he has a son. I mean, a few times, like when he comes clean to the guy and tells him his real name and he says that he has a son, that's a reminder. You know, he tries to call his son at the airport, but there's no answer. That's a reminder. He talks to his son at the beginning, you know, and then, you know, but so there are these little moments, but like, it's more about like this constant weight. And I think that a lot of that comes from just his non-acting. Ben Affleck is such a good actor. Like, he's picked some really crappy movies, I guess, but like, he's picked some very good ones, and whether they're good or bad, he's always good in like all of them. Yeah. And in this one, I feel like is his best performance, like that I've seen in a long time. I don't know, maybe The Town. He's pretty good in The Town.
But The Town is good. Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, but excuse me, this one is special. I feel like because he does so much without doing anything. So I feel what's happening. Like I feel the weight of the responsibility that he takes on. You know, like he shows up and he says, trust me. You know, I can do this. Hold on. Yes.
Can we make popcorn?
Yes. Go ahead. Asking me if you can make popcorn, of course. Like I'm the popcorn god, you know, just go make popcorn. Leave that in.
They offer you like coins, like, please, my lord,
yeah.
maybe,
yes. May I have another?
Bless our popcorn.
I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so the weight of it, like he walks in and he says, trust me, this is what I do. And you just, even though he doesn't know if it's going to work, but he just takes it on. You know, there's a good chance that it won't work, but he doesn't want them to know that. And that just makes him all the more like lovable, right? He wants to take everything for them. And then, so I think a perfect example of this is at the end when the plane leaves and they're waiting to leave Iranian airspace and they finally leave it. You know how he react when they come over the intercom and say, you know, we're going to come around with drinks or whatever. We left Iranian airspace and everybody goes crazy. He blinks. He does this. That's it. Like, it's so good. I stress to anybody, watch this movie all the way through normal and then turn off the sound and watch it. You'll understand why the editing is so good. Like it's easier for me to watch this now. Like I'm watching it without sound and I'm seeing so much more because you're listening to people talk, you're processing information, all that stuff. But like when they find out that they got out and all of the editing between everybody being happy, everybody at the CIA, and then Lester and John hugging each other, and then them on the plane, and then the woman getting into Iraq from Iran, like they're just cutting all of these stories as a happy completion together. There's one shot where it Lester learns that they got out and he comes out to tell John and the camera goes into John, but as it goes into John, it cuts to the people in the CIA hugging.
Yeah.
Like that's brilliant editing. It's so good. Anyway, so I think to answer your question, I feel the weight of everything on him just by watching him, not by him reminding me all the time.
Nice. Yeah, and so the culmination of that whole sequence of him getting to Iran, getting to the escapees, he also has to go through and get like Iranian film approval from the Ministry of Culture, and then he has to get through customs. Like there's so many simple little obstacles, and each one of those feels significant because of the stakes that have been so clearly established in the opening, the amount of violence. And even seeing we watched Joe Stafford a minute ago. I was talking about, Joe Stafford played by Scoot McNairy. And he's talking about having regrets about bringing his wife over there. And we go from that little story to watching him see a man executed in the streets for something we don't even understand. Like, this guy gets stopped and questioned, in Arabic, and then get killed. And we're just like, what happened? So they're emphasizing like our Americanness of not being able to even understand necessarily all the stakes for everyone over there. Like we have no idea who that guy was. And yet everyone is suspect. If that guy is suspect, how much more suspect are these white folks sitting in, this Canadian embassy? Like, everyone is under suspicion right now. And so from there we move into like prepping the team, and just that he has to sell the idea to them. Tony has to, and then beautiful, like we get reminded the stakes again. If this fails, everyone gets killed. And this is where Joe's wife, I didn't write Carrie Bishy's character's name. He's like, if I put my life in his hands, like that could, all of us could get killed. And she's like, including him, and just reminding him, like, he's not here with no skin in the game either. Like there's something, severe that can happen for him. So we're getting reminded, of course, that them studying their characters matters, because that's where we launch into from there. What they're doing there sounds silly, sounds unimportant, and yet their very lives hanging the balance. And of him sitting there quizzing them like, oh, what's your birthday? Who are the last 3 prime ministers? This guy's a spy, shoot him. Like, if you stumble, if you don't get it right, this is how this goes. And from there we go to move the mark, go to the bazaar, right? That's another little sequence. That's probably, 7 or 8 minutes of getting there. Getting dressed into character. There's a nice tender moment between another married couple, and we're hearing their fear. After we understand how they operate, right? She has that snarky moment. This could be this is the most stressful day of my life since we got married. And she just quips back, yeah, hopefully this one isn't a big mistake.
Yeah.
And you appreciate that dynamic. Like, she's joking, he laughs, and you buy in. Like, this is so much better writing than if it had just been, I love you so much, I love you so much. Like, you know what? If you've been married for a decade, I think you have better, more fun conversations than I love you too. Like, give us something real. Like, she's snarky and she's going to get his ass. and he's going to like it. He's going to laugh. That's a real dynamic we can buy into before they hug and tell each other, I'm really scared right now. Me too. Oh, God, that's so much more believable and something that emotionally we can, as an audience, engage with. And then, of course, we see that Joe still doesn't want to go, and now Tony has to go. And to get him to buy in, Tony reveals his true identity, that he's not Kevin Harkins. He's actually Tony Mendez. Okay, this I trust you now. And now that's a great another obstacle that he has to overcome. This movie is filled with these little things that are resisting him, that he has to win over. And that's one of those things as I've been working on my own scripts, I've been getting better and better of making sure every little moment that I'm putting out there isn't easy for our characters. Even if it's just a simple victory, there is something that they have to overcome. And that just adds so much more dynamism to your story by making sure the audience doesn't know what's going to come next. Because if you make too many little easy moments, we just kind of stop caring. But if you can get the audience to lean in with, wait, where's Joe at? Oh, there he is. And then suddenly Joe shows up at the airport. He's been resisting us this whole time. He now gets to be the hero, and the level of satisfaction we get when Joe breaks out those storyboards and starts speaking Farsi. How cool is that?
So it was such a great moment. Like, oh yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I did have that feeling of, yes, go man, go. You know, be that producer, like. Or was he the writer? I can't remember. He was the writer.
Yeah, the location manager or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. And he's like talking about it in a way that, like, you know, they totally get. It's like how they believe, you know, their belief systems and everything. It's so good. Yeah.
It is. It's great because the way he's talking about that script is literally what they're doing in their country, right? Because in the script, it's all about getting the people to understand the power that they have to rise up against their oppressor. And for them to now be holding these storyboards and they can see it. They can see what he's talking about because, you know, the pictures themselves are so reflective of their own culture. And it's hard for them to not get on board. And that's the brilliance of Tony picking that story. He's like, this is a story that they will identify with and they'll want to help tell. Yeah. And so from there, you have so many little mini movies that present a complete arc that within the greater arc of this story help fill in those gaps. And so every step along the way, you're understanding what came before and how it's propelling us into this next obstacle. And it's just a beautiful way to think about your story and how you're going to get the audience engaged every single step of the way. Because nothing is going to be easy, and yet everything will be a logical sequence of events that is just going to have you rooting and on the edge of your seat. The mini movie method. There's something to that, and I will I want your thoughts here in a second on that, and see if you're picking it up. But there's just a couple other things I wanted to touch on story wise, which was at the very beginning. I thought it was interesting when the embassy is getting overrun and you hear the soldier, the captain or whoever, saying, use tear gas as a last resort only. You don't want to be the guy who starts a war. And immediately those guys start firing tear gas. So the tension that we experience as a part of that whole sequence is like, what are you doing? Oh God, is that going to be it? Are they going to now open fire on everyone? Like, what's going to happen? I love that because of the tension it brings, but it also makes you get into their headspace because it brings us into the human element of survival. Yeah, it's easy to say don't fire whenever, you know, you're getting to go hide into the office or whatever. It's easier said than done. Like, we feel our lives at stake, and what else are we going to do? All we have is tear gas. Fine, let's fire that. Or I'm sure they had bullets or whatever. Yeah, the other little writing thing that I saw was really cool. Was as that is all happening, we cut to Kyle Chandler's character. Is that Jack? Maybe. And he's being told Bonnie's advisor is saying that this is going to be over in like 24 hours. Cut to 69 days later. Now it's like, oh God. Okay, so this isn't going at all how we thought it was going to go. So we see that they've lost control immediately and that they're going to be desperate at this point. And then the last little note that I made to myself was, I just love how they set up the alcohol on the plane as a reveal for how they've now crossed into the Iranian airspace and into their control. The flight attendant comes down the aisle, takes his whiskey from him. Like, okay, this is now a significant moment. We're crossing into their airspace. Like, okay, which sets up, and this is the hardest thing to do. How do you signal to the audience it's safe? Because they're on the plane, they're in the air. Those guys didn't get them. They're safe, right? Nope. We're waiting until we're out of their airspace. And whenever they can now have alcohol, reflective of the new leadership, is suddenly that's when you can take your breath. That's such a genius way to reveal to the audience such an ambiguous, nebulous idea like air. Like, how do you make it safe in the air once it, ideally they're already safe. They got away, right? No. Brilliant use of alcohol and that dividing line as a signifier. Like that's a brilliant little flourish. Yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts you have about whatever the mini movie method or any of that, man?
No, it's genius. I think that's a great. That totally makes sense. I mean, otherwise, if you have a lot of like little, peaks and valleys, it does keep you much more engaged. I think this movie does a really great job, back to the editing, of tying in all of these moments that are happening all over the place without you feeling disconnected. Like, you feel like you're connected to everything, and everything does have these arcs. At the beginning you were saying it's the storming of the embassy, and then we're down. We come down after that, right? And we're like, okay, let's assess. Let's meet Ben Affleck and his character. Let's meet Bryan Cranston and his character. Let's figure out what they do, what they know. Oh, okay, we need to make a plan. What is the plan for? And then that starts to build up, and like, oh, they get an idea. Okay, let's go do the idea. And then, and that comes together, and then we come down because now he's going to go to Iran. So, and then, so I totally get it. It makes complete sense. And it's not something that you would necessarily notice. Like, I didn't really notice that until you said it. And now that I'm thinking about it, that's why, one of the reasons why this movie is so good, because it does that. It obeys that for sure.
Constant propulsion. And my only other little note is going back to some of the cinematography. The camera work is just outstanding because it's a good mix of handheld, static shots. I'm sure some of that's, dolly moves. But really what caught my eye is how much is handheld camera work kind of moving around, as mixed in with the static, because it's easy to pick a style and just stick with it. And now the whole movie is handheld, moving around, changing perspective. But the restraint that Affleck has in directing the camera pays dividends when you're feeling the stress that camera work is helping. When there's a moment of safety, he gives you a little bit of a breath and lets you know this is a safe space. And it's a very clear delineation of when to be stressed and when not to be. And by creating that stillness, it gives so much space for the chaos later, right? If the camera's whipping around, you got to keep up, you got to lean forward, and you're going to tire your audience out if you're doing that the entire time. And maybe some movies, that's just a style. I feel like Peter Berg really loves that style. No matter what's going on, he's just leaning in. That's kind of his thing. And that's fine. I don't think that's a wrong way to do it. I just have a really great respect for Affleck deciding when and where to choose to be very mobile on handheld, and when to like hang out. Just let's sit on this character, not move too much. We're just gonna follow them a little bit within the frame, and a lot of restraint there. And I think it pays dividend with the way he's able to raise and lower the tension with the viewer. Yeah, the guy knows his stuff, man. He knows story, and he knows, how to bring it to life on the screen. And what really boggles my mind is the fact that he's also the lead. Man. Yeah. Now, I think it also helps that he's covering a lot of other stories, so there's plenty of days when he doesn't have to be in front of the camera. That probably helps him a lot. If this had been, he needs to be in every single scene, the headache rises a lot. Whereas in this, like, there's probably 2/3 of the shoot days are him getting to be in the director's chair and not overly stressed about like being in front of the camera, watching playback to see his performance or whatever. I don't know how he handles that, but I would be curious to hear, how do you handle being a director and in front of the camera? Are you watching playback, or are you just trusting, Rodrigo to be like, hey, you screwed that up, don't do so much? I don't know. Or his producers. Maybe he's got Matt back there.
Dude, no idea. No idea. Okay. That has to be like one of the hardest things ever.
God.
Dude.
So, I don't know. Final thoughts, man?
So good, man. So good. I'm so glad that we covered this. It's absolutely fantastic. Couldn't recommend it more. And in fact, I mean, it's stressful, but I could go watch it again right now.
Yeah.
It's that good. And I think it's that good because we're not, we are stressed, but there's release. There's these peaks and valleys like you were talking about. There's a stress release. And, John Goodman and Alan Arkin are just perfect for the roles they play. And you completely believe them because they are that. And like in real life, basically. And it's just perfect. It's just fantastic. I think that they make the movie. Without them, it might be just too much. It might be too, like just only a stressful movie, which those have their place, but they're not like as rewatchable. So yeah, fantastic.
That's a great point. Nice. Yeah, agreed. I'll let it lie there. What are you going to recommend this week, man?
So last week I saw this guy online talking about this movie, Come and See. Have you seen this movie?
I saw the original version of it.
What is that?
Oh,
what do you
mean,
the original version?
Wait. Let me double check. Because
1985. Is there another version?
What? No, I haven't seen this. No, okay.
Okay. So this movie, in this movie, a few things, which is why I wanted to watch it. One, it's set during the World War II, during the Holocaust, so it's hard to watch. But it's from 1985. The main kid in it was not an actor. He went with his friend to audition, and he got the role. The director made comedies until his wife died, and he didn't want to make any comedies anymore, and he made this movie. It took him 15 years to make it. They used real fucking bullets and explosives. Real. And you can see it in the tracers flying over this kid's head, and they shoot a cow. Like, it's like hardcore. And I wanted to watch it because I thought, okay, I need to see this because I need to know. I see bullets all the time in movies. I see explosives all the time in movies. What does a real one look like in a movie? Not like a YouTube video where they blow something up or they shoot something. Like, I'm trying to make this a movie and we're going to use real bullets. What does that look like? And it is stark, the difference. It is, this might be it's got to be in my top 5 easy World War II films. Like, it is unbelievable that this thing got made, and it's crazy well acted. It's all subtitles, so be ready for that. It is brutal as F, not gory, just brutal. Like what you would expect from a movie like this. And it shook me like hardcore. It's so good. Wes, you will freaking love it.
Whoa.
You will love it,
dude.
So yeah, that's it. Come and see.
You win. Well done, man.
I don't know. I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to watch this. And I found it's a little hard to find, but you can rent it. It's not hard to find. You can rent it.
Oh, nice. Done. I am going to go the polar opposite direction. I didn't really have time to prep my perfect whatever that is. Instead, I've been on a reading tear the last couple months. That's all I've been doing. Like, it's been, I don't know. I don't have the mental space to watch a lot of movies and TV right now. And so, like, I'll watch our stuff and then I'll watch Pluribus, and that's about it. It's even getting to the theaters has been hard. But I've discovered a book called Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it's so good. When I was a kid, I fell in love with reading, and I remember one summer my dad gave me this book series. It's called the Myth series by Robert Aspirin, and every title in the series was a pun with myth in it. So, like, the first one was Another Fine Myth, which was a pun for a mess, another fine mess. And that took me years to understand what that was supposed to be. And then it would be like, whatever, mistaken identity instead of mistaken identity. And so I loved this book series so much. It was a fantasy series and it was funny. And it just really broadened my mind about storytelling. And I was just, for weeks, I would just sit and read in like the summer, and I would spend a day and I would maybe read an entire book in a day. Like 200 pages, 250 pages, and I would just roll right through it. And by the time I was done reading the series, I'd be falling asleep at like 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning because my schedule is so wrecked. But it was just so much fun and so much joy of just sitting and being engulfed in this series. And I've been chasing that high for, my entire life, since I was 12 or whatever. And this is it. This is kind of the first time I've experienced that high since then. It's called Dungeon Crawler Carl. And in the first chapter of the first book, you discover that the world has ended and this guy's been sucked into a game show that is effectively an RPG. It's like a dungeon crawler, except it's real, and it's being broadcast to the rest of the universe. The whole universe is watching this guy try to survive and fight for his life in a dungeon. Oh
my God.
And it's so well written. I'm so jealous. The guy who writes this, Matt Dinniman, is a genius. And it's just endlessly entertaining. Every single chapter is just like, one more. Just one more. It's been a long time since I've just ran through books like this. And I'm at the point where I'm like trying to get myself to stop. And I have to get myself to read another book. And as a reward, I get to read, a chapter from Dungeon Crawler Carl. And so like, have I read I'm reading like 3 books right now. And I got to read a chapter from this and then a chapter from this. And then I can have 1 or 2 chapters of Carl. So,
wow, that's awesome.
It's the best. So all I'm doing these days is just sitting around reading and trying to think of what I'm going to write next. And I was telling you before the show, like I've figured out what my next my next thing that I'm going to write. I need to finish writing. I've been working on for the past, I don't know, do you know how long it's been? Maybe 6 weeks. I've been working on a podcast, a new podcast comedy, TBD. I don't think I've said that on the show yet. But yeah, I'm working on that, and Todd and I will put out something really fun for y'all, hopefully in the next month or so, and maybe y'all will like it. But anyway, Dungeon Crawler Carl, bro, it's been just so much joy.
Awesome.
So much joy.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Stay tuned for next week. We'll dive back into another David Fincher movie, Zodiac. Gyllenhaal and my God, what's his name?
It's been a minute since we've seen this.
Mark Ruffalo. Good God.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, Zodiac. Stay tuned for that. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe, drop us a review, whatnot. And if you want to leave a comment on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/Argo.
And I love this quote. Actually, this is great. This quote of the day is from Ben Affleck. God help me if I ever do another movie with an explosion in it. If you see me in a movie where stuff is exploding, you'll know I've lost all my money. It's so good. It's so good.
What's the implication?
It's a whole
of that,
lot of
though?
sit around and wait, right?
Yeah. But what's the implication of that? What do you think? What is he implying about what he wants to be doing?
Yeah, that he wants to be doing stuff with sustenance where you can feel explosions instead of seeing them.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
That's such a good way to say that. You feel the explosions, you don't see them. God damn,
Yeah.
Todd, you're a wordsmith.
You can have that one. You can have that one. Put it in a script or something.
Love it.
Oh, that's amazing. Great quote. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Review us. That helps a lot. Share us with your friends. All of that helps a ton. And if there's a film that you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart, please let us know. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll cover it. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies.
I don't know. Yeah. Cutting.